Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Victoria, brother, sister of Providence.
Welcome to WWE Know Your Role, Volume 3.
And today's episode is 10 matches to watch before you die.
Alright, and we each get to pick 5. I got my 5, she's got her 5. One quick shout out to the cameraman who bought me this awesome shirt for my birthday. You know who you are. Love you. Alright, so my first match. Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. WrestleMania 10. Now, two guys coming from the dungeon. Not only are the two guys coming from the dungeon, they're the sons of the guy who created this dungeon. So you knew this was going to be a great wrestling match. And that you got everything you wanted on this match. Great wrestling. Starts off a little slow. Owen Hart and Bret Hart. Bret Hart keeps hitting him. He's jumping out of the ring. He's slapping him. You know, you're a little worried at first, but they put it together. Awesome match. Almost every grappling move. Sharpshooters from both of them, actually. Figure fours. I mean, you know, just the kind of stuff that me and you talk about that we really wanted to see.
Yeah,
you know,
in a match.
we want to see some really good wrestling, not this bullshit. And you got exactly that from that match. And it was also the match where they brought Owen Hart up finally. It was the match where Owen became, you know, he was then just that low card guy, you know, and beating Bret in that match was huge for his career and really brought him up. I thought it was a great match.
Oh yeah, and two different styles from the dungeon. You know, the dungeon was just one style. The dungeon was a big plethora of style, and these two had different styles going at it from the dungeon, but definitely that hardcore style. And I agree, that's a great match.
Awesome match.
So mine is Mick Foley versus Shawn Michaels on Raw 1997. Now, this match was a no holds bars match. This match is what brought Shawn Michaels to be the full package. Yes, he had the talk, but he didn't quite have that hardcore style yet, and this is what really brought it on. And this is a great match. I mean, a lot of props were used, and this is the time before, you know, the hardcore belt came around, so it's something we didn't see a lot on Raw. You know, we saw a little bit on pay-per-views, but now this is the big start, and this is the start of DX. Like, this is it. You know, Triple H comes out, Chyna comes out, and then Rick Rude comes out. Wasn't a big character, but that is the start of DX. So this, to me, it just brings the Attitude Era, and that's why I liked it so much.
No, exactly, and that was what really started DX, which, obviously, if you're a DX fan, that was, you know, this was like the birth of DX. So this match was awesome. I mean, at the time, maybe you didn't know it as much, but now looking at it, that was awesome.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
DX has begun, you know, and
Yeah. That's my dog drinking in the background, by the way.
Yeah, I know, he's thirsty. Anyway, so my next one, I got Shane McMahon versus Kurt Angle, King of the Ring 2001. Now, you know I'm a huge Shane O'Mac fan, and Shane O'Mac has put his body on the line. I mean, countless times. I mean, jumping on the Titantron, doing all that crazy stuff. But this is really the first match where he was just in there. He didn't have any help. You know, nobody came out, nothing. He just one-on-one versus Kurt Angle. It was hardcore. He was giving his shots into Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle was giving his shots into him. I mean, he ends up bouncing. Kurt Angle bounces Shane off the glass numerous times, didn't even break. Crashes on his head. Then eventually gets him through there twice. You know, and then finishes the match with the crazy where he gets on the board on the top of the ring, gives him the... I mean, it was just... The match was awesome. And being a big Shane McMahon fan, I mean, I had to put it in there. Amazing stuff there.
Yeah, and you can't just wrestle like Kurt Angle without any skill. Like, he actually had skill, and he put his body on the line, but he did it in a manner to where it looked realistic, and that, yes, he got some good blows in, but he was also getting the shit kicked out of him, which made it legit to me. That's like,
yeah,
a legit match.
And that's exactly why that was my big one for him, because he actually was doing actual moves. Doing actual moves, real hits, real moves. And, you know, working with Kurt Angle, that's an awesome thing, because Kurt Angle can put on a great show.
Oh, sure.
I mean, he has the wrestling background. He's great in the ring. Loved it. Everything about it.
Oh, yeah, I agree. My next match is from WrestleMania 6, which is a huge WrestleMania. It had Hulk Hogan, who had the heavyweight belt at the time, and then the Ultimate Warrior, who had the IC belt, and they were going after it. So this WrestleMania kind of gets overshadowed by that. but a great match on there is Bad News Brown and Roddy Piper. What makes this match the best for me is not necessarily just the match, it's the 3-minute promo before the match. It starts out with Mean Gene Okerlund, who's one of my favorites, and then Roddy Piper. And Roddy Piper's facing to the side, talking to Mean Gene, and all of a sudden he turns over, and the other side of him is painted all black. And as you know, Bad News Brown is a black man. So this is kind of, you know, touching on an edge of like,
touchy,
yeah, like not little racist. It's very racist. So when he gets to the ring to face Bad News Brown is legitimately pissed off at him. Like, he is fuming at him, and you can tell the punches that he's throwing are not just little wussy punches. He's throwing legit punches at him because he's legit pissed. He's pissed at this little whitey painted half his body black. And you can tell like there's a little bit of bad blood between them as the match is going on. Now, the match ends in a DQ, which, done right, is good. This one was done extremely well because you can tell the legit heat. So they're fighting outside the match. They get both counted out. They don't even care. They're still beating the shit out of each other. And then the refs come down, try to break them up. And they literally fight the match from the ring all the way back to behind the curtain. And as the next match is going on, they're still like, Bad News Brown and Roddy Piper are still fighting back there. Because it was legit. And to me, it just, sometimes a match doesn't need to just to be a match. Sometimes you can just have that just tiny 3-minute long epic promo beforehand to make this a huge thing.
Exactly, and this was the time where, you know, the racism thing, and so it was really huge. You didn't see this kind of thing, and that made it really big, and you could see how emotional it was, and you know, and plus it also has Piper on the mic, and that was kind of because he was the first real like bad guy on that mic that could just rock that mic, and you almost kind of wanted to cheer for him. There was nobody like him at that time.
No,
he was almost, I personally, for me, the creator of what he did.
Oh yeah, pre-rock, pre-everything like that. Just that promo set this thing off, and to me it was great.
It really did. Anyways, my next match, my third match, I have to go with Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, WrestleMania 10. Another WrestleMania 10.
You like WrestleMania?
Yeah, I must have liked WrestleMania 10 too. No, I like this match because it really brought out a whole new element to WWE now. Now they actually added a whole new thing, which is a ladder in the ring. And, you know, they really didn't use that kind of stuff, tables, all that. And, you know, they did do the steel cage matches and stuff like that before, not quite. But this was using a ladder. And then you had Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, two completely different. You had a powerhouse in Razor Ramon. You had the athletic guy of Shawn Michaels, and I mean they used that ladder every which way. It was awesome, and I mean, you know, Razor ends up winning that one. I kind of like how they did that, and this is before, you know, Razor kind of had all those problems, and you know he was actually, you know, back then he was a great wrestler. They dished it out. You know, you even saw him going up there doing those high-flying moves off the ladder, using the ladder, both of them jumping on the ladder. And, you know, you didn't see that at the time in WWE. And it was really a cool moment. It was a really cool moment.
Now, this is before where they didn't have pay-per-views every month. I mean, their pay-per-views were sporadic. So, and they had this build for a while of this ladder match. So for us, I mean, we had to get this pay-per-view because they built it up and we're like, oh my god, we've never seen this before. We need to get this pay-per-view, and we begged and begged and begged.
Well, we begged for everyone, but...
Yeah, but my dad was a wrestling fan, thankfully, and he, you know, after tons of pulling on his leg, he
hooked it up.
Yeah, he cracked. But I mean, this was a time where we didn't see a lot of this, so for this build to us was, you know, like Christmas. Especially for a wrestling fan. It really was.
Yeah, it was.
Alright, so my next one is from a little bit back in the day when I first started watching back in '93, because, you know, I was pretty young, we didn't have it on TV a lot, but is Razor Ramon versus 1-2-3 Kid. Another Razor Ramon. Now, why I love this match so much is that there's a little bit of a backstory to where 1-2-3 Kid had pinned Razor Ramon and won a match prior. This was huge because back in the day, jobbers didn't win. You knew who a jobber was. You don't know, you know, you don't know their names usually, but we knew this was 1-2-3 Kid, and he actually won a match. So they had a rematch the next time, and they called it like the 10 grand match, where if 1-2-3 Kid could pin Razor Ramon, he would get 10 grand. And so 1-2-3 Kid comes out, and the crowd goes wild. They go wild for a jobber, which had never happened before. And all of a sudden they get to the ring, and it is so fast-paced. I mean, in the first 3 minutes, like, I think 1-2-3 Kid tried to pin him like 4 or 5 times. Like, legit tried to pin him. And he had done a really good job. As the match goes on, of course, he's getting his ass kicked because Razor Ramon was a powerhouse. I don't know if you guys know this, like, back in the day, he could slam a motherfucker, like,
Razor's
hard.
edge, you know?
Yeah, and he was legit bad guy wrestler. And he was tough as hell. But during the match, somehow they had removed the little mat down below and the concrete was showing, and Kid tried to jump off and he hit his head on the concrete, like legit wise. He hit his head and he got a concussion, and you can tell that he is loopy. He's not know what's going on, but he still finished the match like a pro, jumping off the top rope, doing all his regular moves. I mean, while having a concussion, and he ends up, you know, winning the match and running off and backstage into a car, taking the money. But it was legit. This is the first time I've ever seen a jobber win a match with so much fans backing him up. It was new.
Yeah, and that's what was great was it was the first time really where but it was like WWE threw something on Raw, for, you know, and they threw like somebody you never thought would win, the ultimate underdog.
Oh, I mean, professional jobber.
You know, we didn't see that. And back when we were kids, it was always them versus the wimpy guy. We call him wimpy guy. You know,
we did.
And they never won. I mean, that never happened. I mean, that was just absurd. And when they did that, you know, really changed the tide of how maybe these guys can win. And it was awesome to see. I really enjoyed seeing that underdog thing. Yeah. Yeah. So my next one, we got let's see, we got Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13. Submission match. This is obviously a good one if I put it on my list, obviously. This one to me was, this is where Stone Cold became Stone Cold. I mean, you know, when he did his speech after King of the Ring and Austin 316, just whip your ass. You know, that's kind of where people, but this is the match where I think he just rose into the top. You know, he was building, and then this match here against Bret Hart, Bret Hart's a great worker. Stone Cold, you know, is a great worker. You know, Vince had him brought him in as a ringmaster because Vince thought that he was so good in the ring that should be his name. And we kind of forget how, you know, great Stone Cold really was, especially back then.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and this match goes, and then they throw it all at each other. And, you know, it ends up where, you know, kind of Stone Cold, you know, he gets hit, bleeding out, and lose consciousness to the sharpshooter. But it meant more. It was almost like a victory for Stone Cold. You know?
Oh, sure. Being against Bret Hart.
Yeah, and from that day on, it just elevated to the Stone Cold era. And if you're a Stone Cold fan and you haven't seen that match, that's one you gotta see.
Now this is what made me become a fan of Stone Cold. I liked his little, little promo that he did at the King of the Ring. This one made me a fan because I was not a Bret Hart fan then. I mean, I've grown to like him, but then I was not a Bret Hart fan.
Yeah.
So to see like Stone Cold like try as hard as and get all bloody, to me I was like, I'm sold. I am officially sold on Stone Cold Steve Austin. I just am.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the match that really brought him over the top and brought the Stone Cold era in, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So my next match is actually for WCW. I was not a big WCW fan. I did like some of it, but I wasn't a huge fan because I was definitely a Raw girl. I like to watch Raw. I like to watch new talent.
Yeah, that's what we did.
But these two people made me start watching WCW, and a lot, because I love them so much. And that was Eddie Guerrero, Chris Jericho, 1997 Fall Brawl. Now, what about this one that I like so much is that these two have the same sort of style, especially back then. They both had the Mexican style of wrestling, because, of course, Eddie Guerrero is a Guerrero, so he's born and raised in his blood, Mexican style. And then there's Chris Jericho, who wrestled down in Mexico for a long time and got a lot of his style down there. So when they go for this match, and I think it's for the Cruiserweight title, when they go for this match, it is so fast-paced, and their styles are both so similar, but it actually worked in this one. Only because that when they started going after each other, they knew what they were going to do. That they knew what the other person was going to do, so it was counteracted very quickly. So the match kept going and going and going. It was so fast-paced, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And the best part about it is Eddie Guerrero as a heel. Eddie Guerrero was a great heel. I mean, it starts off the match where they're grappling, and he just stops grappling Chris Jericho, and lays down in the middle of the ring and keeps touching his hair, yet telling the ref, "Oh, he pulled my hair, he pulled my hair." Just classic Eddie Guerrero, which I loved.
Lie, cheat, and steal, right?
Oh man, I was sold then. I became a Jericho-holic, and I liked Eddie Guerrero. After that match, it was it for me. It was everything.
See, that's where they see, the great thing with them two is they really were one of the founding things of starting the Cruiserweight division in WCW. And the Cruiserweight division really became huge out there. And, you know, they took, you know, Eddie from ECW and Chris Jericho from ECW. And you know, they brought something like Dean Malenko too and stuff. So them two going at it and putting on those shows, you know, it built that Cruiserweight division into a whole new level. And
it built, to me, it was what made that pay-per-view so good, because it was just fresh and new and fast, and it's just something that, like, oh my god, I want to see this again. I want to see what else these two can do, because it was so new for WCW, because they didn't really focus on their newer talent as much. So to me, it became a really big deal.
Especially since they bought in all the top stars. You know, they just bought with money, everybody. And then they bring in these little, you know, littler guys, and then they start producing. It's like, wow, you know. Yeah,
and I've never seen fast pace like that in WCW. That was the first time I saw really fast pace.
Yeah.
So I liked it.
Yeah. All right, so my last match here is we got Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker, Bad Blood '97. Now this is going in, you know, DX is hot, they're huge. Well, when it was, you know, just the two of them, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, towards the end of their first run, and you know, Shawn Michaels had been holding the belt, and he starts a feud there with Undertaker, and you know, then they introduced the Hell in a Cell. This is the first Hell in a Cell match. You know, you're almost worried for Shawn, you know.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's like, this is more Undertaker's kind of thing.
Oh, because Undertaker always had the best matches. Casket, you know, Buried Alive. You know, he had those type of matches, and Shawn didn't yet.
Yeah, and so you're just sitting there like, oh, Shawn, because I was, you know, I'm a Shawn Michaels fan, and so I was like, how are you going to get out of this fight? And the match goes almost like you think it would. I mean, Shawn does his things, but Undertaker kicks the living shit out of him.
Oh,
he kicks the living shit. I mean, Shawn Michaels even falls off the cage. Not the top, like Foley did. No, not quite like that. But I mean, he does that. You know, he gets crushed in the cage, and he's just getting his ass whooped. But really, what made this match really good for me was where they introduced Kane. Now, this is the first time, you know, Undertaker's brother, and he comes out with Paul Bearer and rips open the door and takes down Undertaker. And that's kind of how that match goes. But this, I mean, I enjoy Kane. I think Kane's a great wrestler. I think he's done, you know, he's kind of like an Undertaker. You know, he's a big guy, can move. I mean, obviously, I think Undertaker's better.
Oh, yeah.
But I love Kane, and then the feuds that he had with Undertaker. And this is the match that really brought out that feud. And it was a good match, too.
And they did it the right way. I think having the whole thing go dark, and then the flames come up, and then his music going, and it was like, your heart started being fast, like, oh shit, something's about to the Undertaker, like, you know, the dead man, like, something's gonna get the dead man, and that to me was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it was scary, right?
Yeah, it was scary. You know, especially as a kid, you're thinking like, oh my god, something legit gonna happen.
Who the hell is this guy coming up?
That was crazy, and I'm so jealous she's doing that match, I love it. So, my last one is actually a Elimination Chamber, and it was a 2006 Elimination Chamber, and I mean, it's so hard to put into words, so I'm not going to really explain much, because it's the feeling of an Elimination Chamber. It's that feeling you get, that your heart's racing, like all these people are coming in.
The unknown.
Yeah, and it's like the doors open, you're like, oh shit, what's going to happen next? But it's that feeling of the match, and then when it's finally over, you feel like you can breathe again. You're like, oh, you know, Cena, well, Cena won. I'm not a Cena fan, but he won. And you're thinking, like, you know, he actually did a good fucking job. He's bloody in the ring. You see the cage go up, and all of a sudden, our man, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, walks out, and he says that Edge would like to cash in his Money in the Bank. And of course, Edge, you know, does it so dramatic, you know, hands him over and then runs down, and you're like, is Cena gonna do it? Because Cena can pull off anything pretty much, you know, to the WWE. I'm like, is Cena gonna do it? Holy shit. Not Edge. And of course, Edge won, and that's where he became the ultimate opportunist, which is the best gimmick to have, especially as a heel. That was just totally done right. Everything about it, I loved it.
Yeah, that was when Cena wins, and I mean it was a good match.
He deserved it.
No, it was a good
Yeah.
match, and Cena wins. Shit, but he won it, and then when he comes through and wins, it's like I can sleep at night now. It was a great match. I'm happy, but also that's the ultimate opportunist, and that was the first Money in the Bank, and now you see everybody taking the Money in the Bank, and because I think it was originally kind of going where you win the Money in the Bank, you cash it in,
Yeah.
Now everybody's using it the way Edge did it, because
It's the smartest way.
it's the smartest way, and who else but Edge to actually do it the way,
And it's not only just the match and Edge winning and being the ultimate opportunist.
No,
It's
it
the
is
building.
that. It is that.
It's the building of his character. How Edge can just build and build and build on his character like that. It was just, the match was so much more than a match. It became such a huge build on a character.
Yeah,
And
it
such
was
a
a
huge thing for the
two-for-one
Money
thing.
in the Bank that by the end of it, you're sitting there like, well, that's it. That's life. That's it. That's all I need to see now. And that's why I chose that one as my last one.
Yep. And that's all we have for you this week. I'm Ryan.
I'm Victoria, and you should like, click, or subscribe to our channel. And if you guys have any other matches that we didn't mention, just comment them, and I'd love to watch them. Maybe there's one I'm not thinking of that you guys
Yeah.
have an idea for and I don't know about.
Let us know. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.